Hey yogis, MaKenzie Fly here, mom, yogapreneur, teacher trainer, retreat leader, and your guide to master your yoga teaching. This podcast is your weekly dose of actionable wisdom and candid chats with industry experts. Learn to connect deeper, weave yogic magic, and lead by example. Full disclosure, I'm still mastering it too, but together we'll skyrocket your impact and income. Hit subscribe and let's grow, one episode at a time. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to MYYT, where you are learning to level up your yoga teaching one masterful class at a time. If you're listening in real time, it is already July 2024. On the date that this episode aired, it's July 3rd, 2024, the day before 4th of July, and I'm so confused how we're already halfway through the year. Does anybody else feel like the year is moving so fast? Or maybe it's because I am recently a new mom that I just feel like I blink and it has been days, weeks, months. And I'm just like, how did we get here? How is it already July? So I hope that you have some really fun, exciting plans for the 4th. If you're catching this when the episode aired, or if it already happened, that it was really fun and safe and that you got to spend time with family. I'm excited because I get to go to Mississippi, which is actually where my mother's family is from. And back in the day, we used to do reunions in Mississippi every year when I was really young, all throughout high school. But really, since being an adult, I haven't been able to get back there and see some really extended family. So I'm looking forward to that. It should be a good time. And it's baby Finn's third plane ride since being born. He's already been to Mexico. We just got back from Canada, and now he's headed to Mississippi with me. And I'm looking ahead and thinking that he has at least 2 more flights this year. So we are world traveling. And if he is, then that means that I am. And you might be thinking that I'm crazy, and maybe I definitely am just a little bit. But I also am acknowledging and recognizing that my yoga teaching career is supporting me in that sense, that I have so much freedom and flexibility with my schedule, and even more so in light of recent events. And that's what I wanted to come to you today to talk about is 10 lessons learned from being asked to resign from a job that I loved. I was basically given an ultimatum recently, and I don't want to use any terms directly. So if you feel like I'm kind of being ambiguous, or you're like, where was this place, MaKenzie? I'm doing that intentionally just because I don't want to get in any sort of legal trouble. But I know that a lot of my listeners are my students, and they're kind of thinking, what the heck happened? Why are you no longer teaching at the place that I've been practicing with you for years? It seems so abrupt. And for those of you that are just like, what went down? Why did you make this choice? I wanted to share my side of the story in a way that is, as much as I can, just presenting the facts. I just want to be honest and open and real. So with that being said, to give you a little bit of background, this corporate company I've worked for, like I said, for about 10 years, and the whole time I felt so cared for. And this company really gave me so much of a platform to refine my teaching. I think that's the greatest thing that I got from this place is they put me in the room with incredible teachers. And from there, my teachers observed me, and then they were my cheerleaders and biggest coaches, and saying like, this is the person that you should choose to do the yoga teacher trainings. And so I was given a ton of opportunity from just teaching studio classes, I was presented with the opportunity to then take on the yoga teacher training lead faculty member, which required me to go through a whole other certification and training to do this. And so I was given that opportunity. there. And I know for without a shadow of a doubt, I wouldn't be the teacher that I am today without being at this place. So I feel so grateful to this corporate company for pouring wisdom and knowledge into me of how to really be an impactful teacher. And I feel like I grew so much as a teacher, my time here. Then I also feel like I was able to meet so many beautiful people. Out of the whole situation, that's really what makes me the most sad to leave, is to miss out on practicing with some of the people that I've had the privilege to watch over the years, upwards to 10 years at this place. And you have this chance to build really deep relationships. And so if you were a person who used to take my classes at this establishment in this place, I'm going to miss you so much. And that's really what made this decision challenging, is to say goodbye to some of these people. But why I was asked to leave, or to be honest, I was actually given an ultimatum, because my business partner and I, we share Rachaka retreats. We are moving and branching out from not only planning, hosting, and facilitating international yoga retreats, but we've had it on our hearts to create and write our own yoga teacher training manual. If this is the first time that you're hearing about it, the cat is out of the bag. It's so exciting. We spent the first half of the year really sitting in meditation, being intentional about, okay, if we were to teach somebody how to teach yoga, what would that look like? What would they need? And we had so much fun designing that program. And we have submitted it to Yoga Alliance, and it's going through review. Still needs to be approved. We'll probably have to go through a couple other steps, but as of now, we are planning to launch our first cohort enrollment of our Rachaka yoga teacher training in January of 2025. When I made that announcement, the company that I worked for, I guess it kind of just put a red flag for this company, because I had previously been the yoga teacher training faculty at this place. Now, to back up, that gives you a little bit of context, but really before we announced that Rachaka was doing the yoga teacher training, I had actually stepped down from being the yoga teacher training faculty at this establishment, because from my understanding, I could not lead yoga teacher training at one place and also be doing my own, because I thought that that was what would be seen as soliciting or confusing to members of offering it at two different places. After that, I did not think that there would be any sort of conflict of interest, because I am no longer with this company. I don't have any sort of other, what's the word? Like exclusivity clause. At one time during being at this place, I was an exclusive instructor for this corporation, but I was no longer under that. And you can teach yoga at this place, and you can also teach yoga at other places. So I didn't really see the difference of teaching yoga, just public classes, and then also offering a yoga teacher training, as long as I wasn't the facilitator of the yoga teacher training at this establishment. So I hope you're kind of staying up to date. This might be a little tricky to listen to if there's not names, but basically I made the announcement that I was no longer going to lead yoga teacher trainings at this corporation. And then about 2 weeks later, I publicly announced that we had created a yoga teacher training, and that we were in the process of being approved, and that we were taking names for wait lists. Let us know if you're interested. And upon making that public announcement, it kind of made a red flag. And this corporation then reached out to my business partner and I and presented an ultimatum, essentially, and said that you need to choose. If you want to lead your own yoga teacher training elsewhere, then you can no longer be at our corporation and work here. Or if you'd like to continue to work here, then you need to withdraw your application, and you need to no longer offer this service outside of our community, that this is a clear conflict of interest, and that you are soliciting members to come join your offering. And this came as a big surprise for me personally, because I 1000% thought that I was following rules. That's why I stepped down from that position. I still don't really feel like it's a strong argument. And in the state of Nevada where I live, it seems like you cannot actually instill what is it? I think it's the right to work. Is that the rule? The right to work state, that you can't like force somebody to not do what they do, especially when, like, I'm not a full-time employee there. I'm not making enough of a living for you to say, don't do what you do elsewhere. So I was really surprised in that moment that this is what it had come to. And when they presented this information to me, I had 48 hours to make a decision. So my business partner and I are talking just about about what we had just heard, and feeling so many complex emotions, of course, trying to weigh and measure the pros and the cons and be really intentional about what we wanted to do to move forward. But ultimately came to the decision to leave, since that was the position that we had been put in. When I was going through that 48 hours of meditation, there were 10 things that started to really come to the surface for me. And that is now what this episode is about. So, even though the details of our lives may be really different, what I'm hoping that you gain from this is some wisdom and insight on how to navigate a situation that's difficult, a situation that's sad, and to help you keep your yoga, to keep your equanimity and your sense of calm, collected coolness, and keep your grace, even when it feels like things are ending. Okay, so what are these 10 things? The first is that when you pray for something, you don't get it. For example, when you pray for patience, you don't get patience in this box that's all beautifully wrapped with a bow on top. Instead, you're given the situation to cultivate it. Okay, so although you might not get patience all pretty in a package, what you are given is a situation or a circumstance that requires you to develop patience. And this is really important for us to reflect on and hopefully eventually accept, because it's just true, right? You're not given that thing, you're given the chance to embody the thing. And this is actually the universe or God's way of inviting you to participate in your own life. Because a lot of times when we're just given something, it might be great in that moment. It bypasses a lot of hard work and saves us a ton of time, but we don't actually have to do anything. And therefore, it doesn't mean as much. When you yourself are the one getting your hands dirty, when you are the one going through the life trying to figure out and recalibrate and like do something, then when you actually finish it, you feel so much more proud because you were a part of that process. And so I think it's important for us to remember that, in a way, kind of be careful what you wish for, right? Because you might be praying like, oh, I want this thing, but you're not really thinking, what is the circumstance or what is the situation that I would have to go through to get that thing? And maybe we're praying for a thing and we're actually getting it. God or the universe is answering your prayer and giving you that situation, but you don't even realize it because you're looking for that end result rather than being excited about the journey, the challenge, and the opportunity to participate in developing that quality that you so desire. So in two ways, this is kind of two pieces. Be careful what you wish for and realize that when you pray for something, you don't get it. You're given the opportunity to develop it. The second thing that came up for me is that business is business. Say it again for the people in the back. Nothing is personal. Okay. If a company, in my situation, if this company has really strong demands for their business, then on the flip side, I too can have really strong demands for my business. This makes me think of a really beautiful lyric in Tony Jones. She's an affirmation artist. She's got this, I guess it's a song, but really the whole song is affirmations over music. It's really cool. But one of her lyrics is on like, I'm in business. Oh no, I'm going to completely butcher it here. I can't remember it, but it's something to the effect of like, I don't want to be a busy mess. I want to be in control of my business. And that takes you considering yourself as much of a business as this other place is. And so in my situation here, I kind of was just like, well, you know what? If they have strong demands and standards for their thing, what are mine? And I need to take this opportunity to meditate, to reflect, to get clear on those things that I will accept. And more importantly, those things that I will not accept. And in this situation, it made me think, oh my gosh, like everything truly is a relationship. And if a person, another person that I loved, like let's say that if my husband was coming to me with this ultimatum, with these demands, how would I receive that? And what would I do? What are my boundaries? And so nothing really is personal. And as much as they can say, this is not allowed, we will not accept this, you can say the same thing too. And so I was glad for this chance to get clear on what I will allow and what I will not tolerate. Number three, the third thing that came up for me is that your response reveals your level of enlightenment. I recognized that in this moment of being presented this ultimatum and in the days to follow, especially the day that I had to announce to my class that it would be my last class and that this happened really suddenly from the student perspective, that there wasn't a lot of time to say, hey, in 2 weeks, this will be my last class, or build up, some excitement, and that the departure felt like more of a celebration. It was not that experience. So I recognized that in that moment that my students were watching me and that it was imperative that I was cognizant of that, and that even more so that I truly try to embody yoga in the sense that I'm not throwing a tantrum, in the sense that I'm not blaming anybody or like gossiping in the corner or pulling aside students and like spreading rumors. I wanted to really make sure that I watched my presence and watched my energy and was thoughtful about every word that I said, whether it was in conversation with a singular person or in the words that I shared in my post, knowing that this response right now, the way that I handled this situation, reveals my level of enlightenment, reveals my understanding of yoga. And I say this to remind you that it's always in our responses. And I use the word responses intentionally because it's either a response or a reaction. Okay. It's when we react that we reveal where there's work to be done. It's in your responses instead of reactions that you show that you are applying this practice to even yourself, and that you don't want to be just preaching this thing and not embodying it yourself. In that sense, I was really grateful for this situation happening because I got to put these principles into real life practice and say, okay, how can I show up to this situation not wounded or not be a victim, and show my students that it's possible to be sad, but still equanimous, still peaceful through it all. Number four, ready is a lie. I love this one so much, and I can't take credit for it. I heard it from my business coach who heard it from somebody else. I can't recall who originally kind of said this, but I believe it's their whole shtick. And I really like it because I think we're all always waiting to feel ready, and we never will feel ready. There will never be that moment where life feels like it's perfectly in alignment, that all of your ducks are in a row to do the thing that you're somewhat dreading, to do the thing that you're afraid to do. And that you have to stop waiting for that. And I think that I had, in so many ways, been feeling like I wanted to leave this place for a while, about 3 years, 4 years, maybe even more than that. I was kind of thinking that I wanted to do something different because I felt a little constricted. At first, I was a exclusive teacher here, meaning that I couldn't teach at other places. But then when shutdown happened, I was like, okay, well, this is my main gig right now because shows have closed. I need more classes to make more of an income to support myself and my livelihood and my family. And they weren't able to provide other classes. So then I was like, okay, well, I need to drop this exclusive title because if you don't have classes, I need to be able to teach other places to make a living. That was the first moment that I felt like I was like, wait a second, this is actually not expanding me anymore. It's constricting me. I feel like I have my hands tied behind my back and that I cannot spread my wings and keep growing in the ways that I envision for myself because of this establishment and because of this connection and relationship. And back to the idea that everything is a relationship, you always want to be in relationships that support your expansion and your growth. And so if you find yourself in this instance feeling that pain of like being asked to stay the same, then that pain is still a really important feedback, and it's still a really important piece of information that although it is painful, it might be trying to tell you that it's time. It's time to go, or it's time to do something different. It's time to make a decision, even if you do not feel ready, because ready does not exist. Ready is a lie. I love helping yoga teachers stand out through skillful storytelling and theme weaving. That's why I'm so excited to tell you about Inspired Flow Monthly. Inspired Flow Monthly is the subscription that puts ready to go flows in your back pocket. So all you have to do is show up prepared and excited to teach yoga. Here's what you get each month. One cohesive class plan PDF, complete with dynamic sequences, curated playlists, one with lyrics and one without, and an inspiring theme for your next vinyasa yoga class. That's really what makes this subscription stand out. One ridiculously short and sweet video tutorial of the sequences, one subscriber email that gives you all the deets. Inspired Flow Monthly is for the yoga teachers that are experienced, but out of creative juice and need to gas up. Busy, yet passionate about delivering memorable vinyasa yoga classes. New, with a lack of confidence and an abundance of overwhelm. Needs help with understanding how to weave yoga philosophy without feeling super awkward, preachy, or random. Dislikes creating playlists and just wishes someone would do it for them. All about working smarter and not harder. Trust me, I get it. Teaching beyond the poses to the heart of yoga can be challenging. It's time consuming to find the right inspirational material. That's what makes Inspired Monthly so special. I've done all of the heavy lifting for you. I tell you exactly what to say and when to say it, so you show up prepared, polished, and relaxed. Inspired Flow Monthly is $27 a month, or get 2 months free when you subscribe for the year. Head to inspiredflowmonthly.com to sign up or click the link in the show notes. Still not convinced? Try before you buy and snag one free sample delivered within seconds of signing up. Head to inspiredflowmonthly.com now or click the link in the show notes. See you inside. Number 5 is ultimatums ultimately make you choose. And taking action is always better than inaction. This kind of is piggybacking off of the previous principle, number 4 of ready is a lie, that it's always better to do something. And you have to also acknowledge that when you don't do something, that's still taking an action, that's still making a choice, but we're not meant to stay the same. And that there's a pain either way. There's a pain of staying small. There's a pain of not growing, just as there is on the other side, there is a pain of growing. That's why they call it growing pains. So you kind of have to choose which pain are you willing to accept? Which pain are you going to tolerate? Which pain are you ready to face? Are you going to continue to stay the same, to stay small, to keep doing what you've always done, even if it's just because it's comfortable? Or are you willing to do something different that requires you to stretch out, that requires you to grow, even if it feels scary, even if it feels like it's pulling you apart at the seams, like you're stretching to this discomfort, to this uncomfortable place? So the ultimatum is just making you see that there's pain either way and that you have to choose. Because I think sometimes when we don't actually consciously choose, we unconsciously stay in the thing that's comfortable, not realizing that that is actually a choice. It's just been one that's made unconsciously rather than consciously. So thank God in my situation for this ultimatum, for this establishment being like, hey, here are the options. And now you have to choose. Because I think that without this situation, I would have just stayed in the same place, stayed in my little cozy, comfortable environment where I had this community of people that I knew loved me and my teaching style. Even though I've been feeling called to show up more online, to keep building my own online business where I can have a greater reach and even just more time to do this podcast, so many other doors are opening because of this ultimatum. All right, number 6, recognize when you've outgrown where you're at. Okay, and this is tacking on to the principle beforehand that ultimatum is making you choose and take action, which is good. But you wouldn't make that change. You probably wouldn't take that action unless you felt that pain. And that's why pain actually, in this sense, is a good thing. That ache, right? Whether it's the ache of like, being small and you're frustrated because you've hit this plateau, you're feeling really stagnant, you're feeling really stale, you're feeling really stuck. Or on the flip side, that pain of growing, of expanding, of trying new things, of being uncomfortable, fear of failure, all of that. Both of those sides, it's two sides to the same coin. They both are painful. And I bring this up because the pain is important. It is the sign that's saying, okay, you have outgrown. You have outgrown where you're currently at. And what we don't want to do is try to shove ourselves into a pair of pants that doesn't freaking fit. You know what I mean? Like that's what it's like when when you've outgrown something or it's the wrong size, it's not flattering. You know what I mean? Like parts of you are spilling over and it's hugging you in all the wrong places and it feels tight and constricting. That's not the vibe. That's not the look that I want to go for. And it's not the feeling that I want you to experience. And so this pain is our signal. It's our wake up call. It's our alarm to say, you have outgrown this place. And right now you've got a choice to make. And that's kind of back to the ultimatums. Are you going to keep trying to shove yourself into a size 4 when really you're a size 6? Or are you just going to wear something that has enough room for you that you feel like you can take a full breath? Okay, let's recognize when we've outgrown something. Number 7, ironically, when you're on the right track, you will probably feel the opposite of what you're going for, or it's going to feel completely wrong. For example, freedom actually feels like falling. Strength actually feels like weakness. And growth, in a lot of ways, feels more like falling apart. So MaKenzie, I'm saying to myself and also to you, dear listener and friend, you cannot get caught up in the trap of the current experience and be like, gosh, I really just want to be confident. And I thought that the whole time that I would feel confident. Because that's not actually the road or the path to confidence. You get your confidence by making all the mistakes, by doing everything wrong, right? So it's the opposite of what we think. And so my encouragement for myself and for you is to recognize that opposite experience, or what we might label as being the wrong sensation or feeling, it's actually the sign that we're on the right track, because we are enlightened enough to know that what we're going for, we're not going to feel confident on our way to confidence. We're not going to feel strong on our way to strength. We're not going to feel freedom on the way to freedom. We're probably going to feel the exact opposite and be like, this is so much harder than I thought. Number 8, saying goodbye is hard. That's what I mentioned in the beginning, that the thing that makes my heart ache most about this situation is saying goodbye to the people and feeling like I'm letting my students down. And maybe you can relate to this, that if there's ever been kind of a time in your life that your schedule is about to change and you're sitting there as the teacher thinking about your students, and you don't want to make these changes that would actually serve you and your life and the trajectory that you envision for your path and your purpose. You don't want to do that because you want to show up for your students. And I think that is somewhat a good thing. It is indicative of your heart and how in service of your people and your students you are. But there's also the truth that when one door closes, another opens. And I've already experienced this in the month since this situation, since this big change has happened, that other opportunities have arisen that I never thought possible, or that I did not have the space, the time, the energy, or the capacity for, because of that commitment at this corporation. That now, because of this door closing, that something else can open. And so although goodbyes are hard, when one thing ends, there's more space for something else to begin. And so there's a bittersweetness to it. If you are a person that used to take my class or would consider yourself a student of mine, know that I didn't make this decision lightly. And that one of the reasons that it was so painful and so sad is to say goodbye to you. And I don't ever want to let you down. So with that being said, I've actually created a online offering. I started the live streaming through my virtual yoga studio again, and inspired from tons of the conversations that I've been having with the incredible yoga teachers here on the podcast, I've actually made this offering donation based, just to help people pay what you can, whether that means no money at all, a couple dollars, or the suggested dollars. I'm really not even doing this. It's not something that I want to do to make money or to sustain me, but to maintain these relationships that I've built at these places, because I know that I will miss some of these people. And so if you're a student who wants to continue practicing with me, or maybe you're a listener for the first couple of times on the podcast, you're new to the podcast, I want to invite you to take class with me on Mondays. Every Monday morning, I'll be live streaming more of a flow vinyasa class from 9:15 to 10:15 a.m. This is Pacific Standard Time. And then 10:30 a.m. to 12 p.m., a 90-minute Ashtanga primary series offering. This will be offered all online, so you can check out the link in the show notes to sign up. We'll meet on Zoom, and it's donation based. So just pay what you can, something or nothing. I just want to offer yoga to anybody who wants to take it, and consider this your invitation. And this decision came from the situation of leaving this particular establishment and feeling like goodbye is hard. So I wanted to offer myself somewhere else. And this is that somewhere else. It might sound a little cringe. It might sound a little ick, but I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Number 9 is always choose yourself. Because if you don't, who will? Okay. People are busy. Corporations have thousands of customers and clients that they have to keep happy. Nobody is thinking of you except for you. So you are your own responsibility. And this principle, or this lesson, that I learned in this experience. I wrote it down because we need to remember, we need that reminder that you are responsible for yourself. No, it's no one else's job to think of you, to remember you. So you have to choose you. And in this situation, I'm grateful for this opportunity to choose either this company or choose me. And that leads me to number 10 is through this situation and this ultimatum of being asked, hey, kid, what are you going to do? Are you going to stay here with us or are you going to bet on yourself, break this glass ceiling that you've hit, bust the button off of these pants, the metaphor of these like pants that are too tight? Are you going to keep wearing something that no longer fits? Keep trying to shove yourself into this box that you've outgrown? Or are you going to, number 10, choose you? And that's what I learned is that I'm ready to choose me. And even though I don't feel ready, I know that ready is a lie. Even though I'm afraid to be stepping into this unknown space and territory and have more time and not see the same people, not have the same students who I know adore me and like my class and have been taking it for years. Even though I know so much is about to change, I choose me. And it took me 48 hours to really sit with this, but at the same time, not really. And I think that that might be true for you too, right now, in whatever situation, whatever circumstance you find yourself in, is that the second that they gave me this ultimatum, that they said, what are you going to do? Which do you choose? Deep down, there was this resounding, like full body knowing of what I was going to do already. Like it happens instantaneously almost, but it's quiet. And why it's quiet is because it's covered up with all those other doubts, fears, insecurities, and worries that are loud. And so I hope that even though you might be going through something right now, a really hard life experience, that there's always lessons to be learned through the difficulty, and that it's really in the difficulty that the most spiritual growth occurs, that the most tremendous insights come from. And so I hope that my life experience of basically being asked to resign from a job that I love, from a job that I adored and worked at for 10 years. I hope that you gain some wisdom through my experience and my story, and that you can see these lessons also mirrored in your life and realize that it's only in those challenging times that you have the potential to get these gems like this. I have dedicated my life to teaching yoga. It's my mission and my dharma, and I know that you feel the same. That's why you keep coming back to this podcast each and every week, to stay inspired, to keep your teaching fresh, and to understand the business of yoga so that you can sustain your lifestyle and your livelihood, to continue to show up and serve other people and have a real impact. So at the end of the day, I just really want to emphasize and make it clear that I am so grateful to this company that I served for about 10 years. There's no animosity. That's not my intention here. I just wanted to share my experience in a way that inspires you to always look for the lesson, even in the thing that could have knocked you off your center or taken you off guard. And so these are my 10 lessons. This is the silver lining that I have found in this instance. And I hope that it has served and helped you. If any one of the 10 things have resonated with you, I want to hear about it. Please reach out to me on Instagram. My handle is Master Your Yoga Teaching. And if it really lit something in you, I would appreciate it if you just plop it up in your story, tag me. To the students and to the people who took my classes, I truly will miss you. I'm heartbroken to somewhat say goodbye, but remember that I now have so much more freedom to keep creating free content here on the podcast, to keep showing up in other ways, like the live stream classes that I'm starting on Monday mornings. You can check out that link in the bio to sign up, and I'll see you for some of the Zoom classes. I'm also building other group mastermind programs called Mat to Mat, which is coming in August. I also have my one-on-one mentorship. So many ways that you can stay connected with me and plug into the community. I'm so grateful to you. Thank you so much for being here. And until next Wednesday, namaste blessed. Thanks for listening. If this is your first time, peruse our feed to see if there's something else that will serve you. We're so grateful that you're here and invite you to join our inner circle by subscribing to our newsletter. If this episode resonated with you, help us spread the word by sending it to a friend who needs to hear this message. Likes, follows, sends, shares, and reviews help us to continue delivering high-quality content to you for free each and every week. Don't forget to tag @MasterYourYogaTeaching so we can reshare. I am a certified yogi. However, this podcast is intended for information and entertainment only. If you are interested in mentorship or coaching with me, check out the website linked in the show notes to get more information. This content and other content produced by CLW Studios and affiliated partners is not therapy, and nothing in this content indicates a therapeutic relationship. Any opinions of guests on the podcast are their own and do not represent the opinions of MaKenzie or CLW Studios. Learn more about MaKenzie, her guests, and CLW Studios by following the links in the show notes. Keep shining, and we will see you next Wednesday for another dose of Master Your Yoga Teaching. Namaste blessed.